So hi there and welcome to this week's video. My name is Charles and today I'm going to take a little look at one of the lesser used features of the Nikon Z6 cameras, and that is its ability to take dual exposures shots. Now, dual exposures are nothing new, people have been doing it since film days. But what is great about the Nikon Z series cameras is the fact you can do all this through your electronic viewfinder, which can really open up some creative opportunities for your photography. So I think, let's go out, let's find our first shot, and above all, let's just have some fun. So I've got my first shot set up here, as you can see. It's these lovely foxgloves that are glowing in a little glade in the woodland. And what I'm going to do is use my macro lens to get in really close on one of these foxglove flower heads. And I'm going to take my first shot. And then what I'm going to do is create almost a bit of an Autumn effect style photograph. I will then, for my second exposure, take the lens right out of focus and then take my second shot. And hopefully this is going to give us a really nice out of focus image. So let's crack on, let's get the shot done. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is go into my menu and I need to go into photo shooting menu and go into multiple exposure, and I've selected on with multiple series so that I can just keep taking dual exposure shots. Next, I'm going to set my number of shots. So for this one, I just want it set to 2, but depending on what you want to do, you can just change that depending on your need. And for this shot, I'm going to leave my overlay mode on as average, but you could take either it so it blends the lighter areas, or you can do it so it blends the darker areas. So now I think it's time to get our first shot. So what I'm going to do is focus in on one of these flower heads, and I'm going to use manual focus just to tweak my focus here. And there we go, I think that looks really nice. So now what I'm going to do is take my lens right out of focus so I can get a really nice glow into this image. Now I'm going to take my second shot and let's take a little look. And I think that looks really nice. We've got a really interesting glow, almost autumn effect kind of feel to this. So for this image, my settings are ISO 400, f11 and 1/200 for the second. So the next way we could creatively use multiple or dual exposures is to combine it with a bit of ICM, or in-camera movement. So what I found is this really nice sort of group of quite vertical trees, I suppose a bit like a plantation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 exposures, one where I'm moving the image and one where I'm keeping it fairly static. And this should mean we get some texture from the first shot, and then we should also get a little bit of blur and movement from the second. Then what I'll probably do is just experiment with a couple of different movement techniques, and then I'll probably pop my favourites up on screen for you to see. But let's quickly run through the settings. So for this shot, I've got it set to 1 second, and it's at f16, just to really try and slow that shutter down. And I've got my ISO as low as it will go, so I think it's the equivalent of ISO 50 on a Nikon Z6. And I've also attached a polarizer here. This will richen the colours, but it will also have the bonus of extending out that shutter speed slightly. So without the polarizer on, I was getting about a shutter speed of about 1/4 of a second. So it's slowed it down fairly substantially. But anyway, let's take some shots, and I'll put my favourites up on screen for you to see. So the next way we can use multiple exposures is to create interesting patterns. So what I've found is this lovely sort of bramble bush over here, and it's got some really nice flower heads on it, and I think this could make some really interesting patterns. So what I'm going to do, I've got my standard Nikon 24-70 fitted now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom that all the way to 70, and I'm going to focus in on one of the flower heads and move it round the screen. And I think this could create an almost wallpaper-esque kind of pattern. So in terms of settings, I'm shooting at ISO, let's take the lens cap off. I've got it set to aperture priority mode because I want the camera to sort of work out the exposure for me. The sun keeps coming and going, so I think in this case it's going to be better just to have aperture priority. And I've set it to f4 because I want to have a nice shallow depth of field, really only focusing in on those flowers and the rest of it being quite soft in focus. And I've got it set to ISO 800 because I want to keep the shutter speed pretty fast because I'm hand holding this shot. So I think let's go ahead, let's start taking some shots, and I'll pop them up on screen in a minute and let me know if you like them. So I really hope you've enjoyed this week's video. It was a lot of fun to go out and try something a little bit more free and artistic. I think my favourite way of using this method was to actually apply the sort of autumn effect in camera, adding that sort of glow to the macro photography. But that's not to say there's not merit in all of these different methods. Why don't you let me know in the comment which you prefer? Do you prefer just the slightly more subtle approach, or the going all out and creating those kaleidoscopic patterns? Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you give it a big thumbs up, put a comment below and show me your results, put your Instagram links in, I'd love to come and take a look. And if you've really enjoyed this content and you want to see more of it, go check out some of my other videos and even subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. But anyway, that's enough from me this week. Take care and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.